Gander, Lufthansa 458. 458, stand by, over speed 678.
If you want something, it's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. That's all I can say about that.
Today I'm here with my friend and buddy Gil Marriner. I'm here in his garden, in his bonsai garden, a really nice garden. How did you start with bonsai?
How did I start with bonsai? That's really a good question, because I think everybody's got about the same answer. They got it as the first one. They got it as a present. I got one as a present, and it was I remember it was a maple. And I wasn't really into it, but then I killed it within 6 months, like everything else, right? So then I decided, okay, it kind of interested me after that, and I got a couple books. One of the first ones was from Colin Lewis, I remember that. And then I started from there. And that was well over 25, almost 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then it just interests me after that. And then I went to a bonsai show here in Germany, and I thought to myself, God, I could never have a tree like that. They weren't that great quality, but they really impressed me at the time, because for my knowledge, it was quality. Okay, if I look at it today from what I know, thinking to myself, yeah, okay, it was the lower end of the echelon, but for me at that time, it was the pinnacle of bonsai, and that's how I really got into it.
Takeoff runway is runway 24 left, full length. Full length, X.
Approaching 24 left.
Takeoff check is completed.
Well, I came here in 78 with the Air Force,
yeah,
and left back, and I was based in Berlin for a couple of years. Then went back to the States, went back to college, and then in 87, I believe it was, 87, 86, something like that, came back over to Germany and started flying out of Berlin. And then we all know at that time, at the end of the 80s, the wall came down, and I was at the point of probably losing my job there. So then I applied to Lufthansa, got a job with Lufthansa, and then moved down here to Germany.
Take off.
I was living in Nuremberg,
yeah,
and then the whole bonsai thing started to expand on me,
yeah,
and like anybody else, you pick up anything, or when you go out for a hike, you're looking down on the ground for something to dig out, and before you know it, you've got more trees than what you could really handle. And that was obviously my case, and I was getting close to retirement from flying, I thought to myself, need something a little bit different here, a bigger plot of land. And then I looked for something out here in the countryside in Franconia, and found something through a friend of mine, and then bought the property and then built a house on it, and it is what it is today.
Yeah. Great place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. A lot of work put into it.
Yes. We was in the same school
Right.
with Jürgen Saar in Kirena N.
Yeah.
How do you how do you manage to come to him?
I remember that exactly. I attended a weekend seminar with Jürgen. It wasn't working on trees. It was specifically just a sit-down seminar, you know. And then I was writing away. I was writing all the notes and everything. And then for some reason, he just asked me if I would be interested in learning with his school. And I said, yeah, fine. I'd love to do that. Love to start with that. The only problem was 350 kilometers away for me for a one-way trip. It's quite a bit. But I think if you want to learn something that bad, it doesn't matter how far it is. You'll go do it. You know, if you want something, it's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. That's all I could say about that.
Yeah. Okay, we come to the garden. What was the idea to build up this garden from, I don't know, just a field?
It was just a field with a couple trees on there,
Yeah.
some cherry trees, because as you might know, here in Franconia, there's more cherries produced here in the area than anywhere else in Europe. And so there was just a bunch of cherry trees on here. There's actually 4 other properties. And I wanted something that would not be just a bonsai garden. I wanted something that would express maybe a little bit of the Japanese art also, you know. And that was my whole idea for the garden. I didn't want a typical German garden. That is not what I wanted. But the only problem with this garden is it takes a lot of work to maintain it. It's a constant maintenance thing. Sometimes I feel I'm probably just a farmer now because of all the work that I put into it. But you know, in the evening you sit down after your water and have a beer or a gin tonic or whatever, and the water is glistening off the leaves, and it's just this peaceful way of doing things here, you know. And that's what brought me to this.
Yeah. Good. Do you build or do you plant the garden by yourself?
No, I didn't. I had somebody else obviously help me with that, and you know, we consulted back and forth on that. I'm not going to say the whole story on it. There were a few problems here and there, whatever. We got that ironed out, and after he left to do his own thing, then I had to do the rest myself, and it was just a little bit here, a little bit there, and because basically I had no idea how to do it. I remember my stepfather, with him just having to have a weekly fight of mowing and maintaining the lawn. I just didn't want to do that, especially in Florida where it's 90 to 100 degrees and 100% humidity. I mean, what kid wants to do that? And I swear I would never have a garden. And now here we are. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of learning experience. I mean, I'm certainly not a professional gardener, but it was purely a learning experience, learning and doing.
Yeah, you have so much big stones, really big stones here. And how many do we see from the stones now?
Probably not more than a third. About 2/3 of it is sunk
Inside,
down below.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you go here around anywhere in Germany most of the time, and some places they have the stone, they just plop them right on
Yes.
top.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be put in the ground. A lot of times you're only seeing the top quarter or even less of the stone. There has to be some stability. You know, and one of the things that also helped on this was I remember getting a book on Japanese gardens by Brian Albright, and that kind of opened up my eyes for that. You know, the way he expressed it and the whole measurements and everything. Quite an eye opener, and like I said, probably about 1/3 is showing. You know, so had to dig down, sand, get it in the right place. No, that's not it, and then move it around and stuff. You know, but I mean that was done with the guy that was doing it at the time, and you know, he had cranes and everything. I mean, it was quite an operation, really. It wasn't very easy. I mean, having the trucks come in and all the stones. Where I was living before, I had a small koi pond. It was only about 6,000 liters. And the way that worked out, I built the garden there and put a pond in, but I was told by somebody, don't put any fish in there. Do not put any fish in there. It was probably right now if I think about it, because all they're going to do is dirty it up anyway, and you really do have some problems unless you have a good filter. And but then I ended up getting a couple kois. I put them in there, and then somebody else sold their house and wanted to get rid of their kois, and he said, well, come on over, but you got to take all of them. So there was about 6. I still have them in there now. And then it just interested me, and I thought to myself, you know, when I build a house, I got to have a bigger pond. And this one is 50,000 liters now. It's also a lot of maintenance. Not on a daily basis, but every couple of days you've got to look through it. You know, there's always something going on, and the problem with it is the kois themselves. You know, they tend to get some type of disease, some type of parasite, so you've got to keep that all in check. And the filter needs cleaning, and you've got to have a good filter system, and it's 50,000 liters. So,
what is, in your opinion, more difficult, the bonsai or the koi?
They both have their own little, you know, difficulties. I mean, for example, I don't have a heating system due to the cost. I don't have a heating system in the pond, in the filter system, due to the cost of electricity. So I shut it down in mid to end of November, depending on the temperature. So I've got to get all the filter ready and take all the stuff out because it ends up freezing. I mean, we go down to minus 20 degrees centigrade sometimes here, and everything will freeze. So that has to be all taken out, and then in springtime, early spring and March, I've got to put that back in, get it all working, and sometimes it doesn't work or whatever, you have to replace parts. So that's also a difficulty. But the bonsai, I think if you want to keep a good bonsai, that's also a difficult part. You know, I tend to do a lot of the work in wintertime. I take some time off in November, December, don't have to do too much, pack them away for the wintertime, and then from February then I start, for example, on the larches. But I got a couple good guys helping me now, so that also helps on things, like, for example, Nelson, you know, wiring and helping me lift things around. But I've also reduced a lot of my bonsai. I mean, I went around and counted them the other day, and all the trees, including the small stuff, it was about 36. You know, so I mean, we know some guys that have 2,000 or rather 200 bonsai.
Yeah.
How can you have a good quality bonsai if you got to take care of 200? It's impossible, and that's what I wanted to have. And a lot of my bonsai are just not finished. I know that, but it's a slow process. And I go out here every morning with my first cup of coffee, and I inspect every bonsai and see what's going on. Are there any diseases or anything eating at it or whatever? you've got to keep a track on that.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you'll get behind the ball.
Yeah.
So, the difficulty level, I think probably the bonsai is a little bit more takes a little bit more, but than the pond.
No. Okay. Yeah. You have also a lot of gravel parts in your garden, but you have also, yeah, it's not gravel. It's you planted thyme.
Yeah, thyme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does it work?
Well, I mean, most people here, where we live, they have grass, lawns, and I'm just kind of a stickler. I'm a kind of a perfectionist, which is really a pain in the butt sometimes, even for me. I mean, it really gets on my case. Sometimes I have to watch myself with it, but I didn't want grass because it takes, I wouldn't say it takes a lot of time, but it takes a lot of chemicals and a lot of watering, and if you want it nice. And I didn't want to have to do that, although grass is nice, but I just wanted something different. Then I came up with this idea. I don't know if it was my idea alone or I just saw it in a book somewhere where somebody had planted some thyme as a pathway, and I thought to myself, this might be a good idea. So I started off with that. I got to look for some pictures that I had of that when I first started it, but the way it is now took 10 years to actually get it that way. It doesn't take that much work to maintain, but you've got to go through every couple of days and look for the weeds, because the weeds will start to inundate it, and you'll get behind the ball on that, and then you'll end up, you can't remove the weeds anymore. You'll have to dig out the patches. So it takes a bit of time on that also, but other than that, it doesn't require much watering. And now, like it is in late spring, early June, they bloom, and it's just the butterflies start to come along, and you get thousands of butterflies here. It's just walking through, and everything starts to come alive on you. I always say at night, I think you got some pictures at night, that's when the fairies come out here.
So Gil, many thanks that I'm being here, and I hope we have a lot of great time together in the future.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, and every time you come by, I love it, and I'd love to go out and visit you and your wife also, and every time we're at a show, we always have a good time. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you.